everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Influence Economy. I'm your host, Shayna Davis. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm so excited. But before we get started, I would love if you would do me a favor. So, wherever it is that you are listening to this episode, I want you to take a screenshot. And with that screenshot, I want you to post it on your social media. Tag us here at Shayna Rattler Davis. And then I just want to hear your biggest aha moment or your biggest takeaway from this episode. And the reason why I do that is because, in my opinion, I think that far too many women are seen and not paid well. And they don't necessarily know where to start to change that. And so, the more times that these episodes are shared, the more people that can actually be exposed to the shifts that are required in order for them to own their influence. So, I want to thank you in advance for being willing to do that. Well, I've been in the green room with this beauty, and I'm excited to share her nuggets with y'all. So I am going to read her bio, and we are going to get started for what I believe is going to be another fabulous conversation. So here we go. My guest today is a Christian entrepreneur, author, speaker, and investor who turned her financial life around from being $120,000 in debt to becoming a multi-millionaire. After years of frustration with conventional finance advice focused on strict budgeting and cutting expenses, she finally experienced a breakthrough by unlearning these limiting approaches and transforming her relationship with money. This pivotal shift empowered her to take bold strategic actions that led to complete financial freedom by the age of 33. She believes that more wealth in the hands of women can change the world and is passionate about helping women get out of their own way and break financial barriers and build generational wealth. She hosts the Permission to Prosper podcast, where she shares insights on financial empowerment and wealth building strategies. Her new best-selling book, Buy the Damn Coffee, is a call break to break free from cycles of blame, shame, and restrictive money habits, empowering readers to embrace a mindset that fosters confidence, growth, and impact for their families and communities. Welcome to the show, Janine Mix.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, I'm excited that you're here. So, this show, The Influence Economy, is about all of the different ways that women can win. And I definitely think that being able to win with your influence is as much about knowing how to manage money and build wealth in multiple different ways, because everyone that listens to the show is not an entrepreneur. Everyone that listens to the show is not a leader. Like inside of somebody else's company. But I hope that everyone that is here is interested in building wealth. If they're not, they're probably not listening. And if you are, this is your permission to log off, because I really do think that you have the most influence and you have the most impact when you have enough income to fund your vision and your goals. So I'm so excited that you're here today. So I'm curious, like, I talked about in the bio how you went from being like 120K in debt. Then by the time you were 33 years old, you were already like at millionaire status. And so, like, what was the turning point for you to like break through to that financial freedom?
Oh man, when I hear that bio, I can't believe that that's my life because honestly, when I was $120,000 in student loan debt, I was living in a cockroach infested apartment in Los Angeles, just completely broke and broken. And to know the transformation that I was able to accomplish, and it wasn't, quick. It wasn't like a get rich thing. Like it was several years, a decade later until I would experience financial freedom. But the number one thing when I'm asked what was the aha, what was the breakthrough moment, the number one thing was unlearning everything I had ever learned about money. Up
Wow.
until that point, I had only learned the typical advice of you need to be debt free, you need to get a good job, go to a good school, get a good job, the same typical, I think, average advice. And at the same time that I was being told that advice and living off of top ramen and living in a cockroach filled apartment, I also was working in retail in some of the highest end boutiques in the country and some of the top locations in the world, like Rodeo Drive and like Beverly Drive and Larchmont Boulevard. And so I'm sitting here seeing celebrities and dressing them at the same time, stuffing cash in envelopes to pay my electricity bill. And I realized something very different with people who had money and wealthy people. And that's that they don't use cash in envelopes. They're using credit cards and they're making money in much different ways. So I knew for me, there had to be a different way. Like, yes, getting out of debt, doing the envelope snowball method is one way, but is it the only way? And I also wasn't willing to accept that, okay, I need to get a good job. I'll pay off my debt for the next 20, 30 years. And then when I retire, then I can travel the world and do the things I'm really passionate about. I wasn't willing to accept that life. I knew that there had to be some other way to take back control of my finances, get out of this student loan debt that I was in, and do that much quicker and be able to still live life while doing it. So, yeah, my number one thing was unlearning everything I had ever known about money.
And I think that that transcends across so many aspects of life, whether it's related to your religion, whether it's related to relationships, money. I believe that many of us have more to unlearn than we do to learn. And for some of us, even if we didn't learn much more, sometimes just unlearning and some of it's not bad, some of it's just not ineffective. It's just not effective, or it's not like the best way, or it's not the modern way. I mean, you talked about, like getting a job. Like, long gone are the days that you go to school, get a job, work 25 years, get the watch. I literally just a few hours ago left my godmother's retirement party. She graduated.
Aw.
She retired from, working at the state of Texas for, 20 years. Like, that's just not the reality anymore. And so when you talk about unlearning, I do believe that there's a lot of other obstacles that can potentially get in the way as well. And so what do you see are some of the biggest barriers, especially for women, that get in the way when it comes to building wealth?
Mhm. Okay, the three money influencers that keep you from getting wealth and building it and breaking through your own limited beliefs are: what did you hear about money? What did you learn about money? And what did you experience around money? I like to call the experience a money event. And so we all have this wired relationship with money that's influenced by these influencers, often by who we grew up with, what parent raised us. Did we have a single parent raising us? Like, your beliefs around money and wealth are dramatically shaped by your experience, what you hear. Like, I had always heard, money doesn't grow on trees. So it seemed like it was hard to come by. Okay. Or you've got to work hard for the money. All right. So I started working at 8, got to start young, start hard, right? Like, that's the only way that I can make money. Money experiences too, in my journey to becoming a millionaire, I almost had a near bankruptcy that wiped me out. That absolutely had a major influence on my confidence on building wealth. Okay. So when you're building businesses and you have something fail and you almost claim bankruptcy, your money identity shifts. And if you let it, it will shape who you think you can become or what you can break through. So um, instead of letting that failure define me, I let it refine me. And so through our money experiences, we have to be able to like truly take a step back and ask ourselves, where did this belief around money come from? What do I tell myself subconsciously? And also, what am I reiterating to my kids or my family? And it could be so subtle. It could be something as simple as, um, you're telling your girlfriend, I went shopping, but I got it on sale. Why do you have to say that you got it on sale? Do you feel like that is a justification? Where did that come from? There's usually a root cause in one of our money, in one or all of our money influencers, what we heard, what we learned, what we experienced, that is absolutely shaping our beliefs now and our behaviors. What you believe
Yeah.
about money is how you behave about money. And so if you really do believe you've got to work hard and you're selling your time, maybe you're an entrepreneur or you're like me, I had like 3 jobs. If that's the only way that you have learned to make money, you will be stuck in a rat race for a very long time. It's not until you're able to recognize like, oh, you can actually work smarter with your money. And how do wealthy people do that? The other thing I would say is, who are you getting your advice from? For the longest time, my sister, God bless her, she would sit down, we'd do my budget, we'd do the envelopes of cash, and she'd help me try to correct while I was living in my cockroach apartment. And God bless her, she was so kind. But what I realized is she was living off of food stamps at the time. So who is she to help me build wealth when she hasn't broken free either? She can kind of help me manage some things, but she wasn't going to be the person that I was going to learn how to invest with. She would teach me how to like get another job or how to cut back on my coffees, which is why I wrote the book. So those money influencers, I always say that it's not the money in your bank account that is the real thing holding you back. It's actually in your mind. It's your mindset and your relationship with money. And we wonder why budgets don't work. I hate the word budget anyways. I like to call it a money plan, but we wonder why they don't work because they're restrictive. They're like a diet. They feel limited. They feel temporary. They feel unsustainable at times, right? But um we avoid those things because of our money experience. Maybe you're avoiding your account. Maybe you're completely avoiding your account. You're like, I hope there's money in it. Why? Ask yourself these things like, why are you pulling back? Why are you doing that? Because managing money is actually very straightforward. Don't spend more than you make. Like save up some expenses for the next few months, like pay off a car. Like they're pretty simple, but why don't we follow them? Because it's so much more complicated around our relationship. And that's the thing is like, if we can't understand our relationship or change our identity around money and how we think or talk about it, then your bank account isn't going to reflect that either. So that's like the big thing that I want to shift is it's not about cutting the latte, which is why I named my book Buy the Damn Coffee. It's not about the $5 coffee. It's about the relationship you have when you're in the line at Starbucks. This is my story. When I'm in the line at Starbucks and I'm feeling like extremely guilty, even though I can afford the coffee, I'm not putting it on a credit card, but I feel like someone's breathing down my neck saying like, this is why you're broke. And then I get the coffee and then I punish myself later and I don't get lunch. So I decide if I get the coffee now, I won't get the lunch later. So then I'm starving myself. And then I realize I'm in a horrible relationship. If this was a human being, if the coffee was a human being, the guilt, the remorse, the shame, the things I feel around it, someone would be like, you're in a very toxic relationship. And that's how I was with money. I was in a
Yeah.
very toxic relationship with money that made me feel so guilty even when I bought a $5 coffee. It reminded me, see, there you have no discipline. Look at that. You can't even say no to that $5 thing. But you know what's really funny, Shayna? Have you ever heard anybody in the success and wealth industry attribute their success to how many lattes they cut out?
No,
Literally
not
never.
one.
Literally never. It's
Yeah.
usually the risk they took, the business they started, that like, oh, I burnt the bridges and I took a leap. It's never the coffee. Yet there's this narrative, and I especially think for women, there's this narrative around, are we shopaholics who have absolutely no control and self-control over how we spend our money?
Yeah.
No, it's just we have this relationship with money that's been highly influenced by these money influencers, and we haven't even taken a step back to realize what they are. And until you can realize what they are and face them, you're not going to break free financially. For me, I would have been in the same spot had I just like accepted this was my lot in life. So yeah, that's how I
I
feel.
want to talk a little bit about the discipline piece because I've seen some behaviors in people before. And as a matter of fact, I was just having this conversation with someone either yesterday or the day before. And I don't know if this is a defense mechanism or what's driving this, but when it comes to the discipline, sometimes I see people take it so far that that in and of itself is like blocking them. And what the people that I've known of up close and personal or that I've been privy to the conversations, it was always like, not necessarily somebody told me, like, make sure that you're not wasting your money on something, but perhaps they found themselves at a really low point
Mhm.
financially, whether it was because of bad decisions or lost a job, bad habits, whatever the case may be. And in their mind, they think, I'm never going to end up like that again. So then they hold on to everything so tightly. And I think in their minds, they believe that it's a discipline, and it may be a form of a discipline, but it's an unhealthy one if it is. And so how do we strike the balance between, yeah, we don't just want to go gangbusters and not have any discipline, but we also don't want to be so stringent about the way that we're spending and or managing that ends up being something that keeps us back.
Yeah. I talk about the poverty mindset and the scarcity mindset, or poverty and prosperity mindset. And the poverty mindset can be like that. It could be like, I'm holding on to this, there's only so much. And you might think that I'm being a good steward of this. But if you're holding so tight that you can't even enjoy it, or, you know, I say that there's a version of being kind of stingy with money that I feel like actually scares people into more poverty, right? And that is, will I be broke again? I experienced this money event that's an influencer, and I absolutely never want to feel that again. I feel that I never ever want to get to the point where I felt when I almost hit bankruptcy. Okay, I was selling everything I had in order to avoid bankruptcy. I never ever want to feel that again. But that doesn't mean that I need to retreat, hold on, and pinch pennies so tightly that I'm not even open to receiving more, right? Like, I think you can do the same thing, which is what you're saying too, is you can totally block what flows to you when your arms and your fists are just like closed. You have to be open to receive. And then I would also just say, again, it's reflecting on what was the experience that I had that got me here. And am I safe now? I know people who have paid off their debt, have hundreds of $1,000s in the bank, like they're doing great, but they still feel unsafe. They
Mm.
still feel insecure with their money. And I'm like, isn't money also supposed to bring us joy and some relief? But I think we fixate kind of on all the negative things. And I can't remember the author of this book, but she had said, write money a letter. So if you find yourself like super tight and stingy, and I mean, goes for anybody. If you find yourself completely blowing money because you're trying to like fill some void, write money a letter, dear money, and forgive it. And then thank it. Like if you've like experienced near bankruptcy, I'll just use my example, forgive yourself, forgive that situation, and then thank it. Thank you for being where I am now, where I never take a penny for granted, because I did feel that like just complete shame, failure, like just so much pain around that. I mean, I lost my 6 figures in debt. I lost so much sleep and tears. I never thought I was going to be marryable. Like all of these things were tied to the belief of who I am and my worth because of some debt. Like that's crazy. And so actually write to money and talk to it about these money influencers and these experiences. And I like to use this exercise. I call it the mix shift framework. How do we reframe it? How do we go from, okay, how do we find that balance? Like you said, okay, I don't want to just YOLO go buy whatever I want, but I also don't want to be so stingy that I don't enjoy it. Well, ask yourself, why are you being stingy with it? Let's use that example. Well, I am afraid. What's the message that you're telling yourself? That's the M in the mix shift framework. MIX. It's like my last name. The M is, what's the message that you're telling myself? That hurt. That was painful, and I never want to feel that again. Okay. So is that message true? Sure, you could say, yes, I never want to feel that again. Or how can you rewrite that? That's the X, how to cross it out. What would you rather be telling yourself? I will never go back there, because look at where I am now. Look what I've been able to come from and rise up above. What can I learn from that experience? Are you saying that you will always be bad with money? So I hate that too. It's like this idea that once you've been burned, once you've gotten in bad credit card debt before, you can never own a credit card. That's like telling someone who's a bad driver to never drive again. Sorry, just
Yeah.
don't do it. Only
Ever.
take only take public transportation. Okay, is that the best solution? Or can you take a driving course? Can you learn? Can you get better with this vehicle, which is the car, so that you can become a better driver? The answer is yes. Can you apply that to money? Can you get better with this vehicle? These dollars and cents in your account, this business that you have, this profit center that you have in your business or in your income and in your job? Can you get better? Or should you just like avoid your money at all costs? Should you just never get a credit card? Should you just never invest because one time you invested and it didn't turn out very well? Like, no, I really believe that to have abundance in your life, you need to have a growth mindset. You need to be able to know that actually I can grow this and I can be better at this. It's not a one and done. It's not like, oh, I've been in this situation, so I'll always be in this situation. To be honest, all financial circumstances are temporary. And when you really sit back to think about it, how many times you've maybe been broke and come out of it, and like how much money flows up and down, right? And fluctuates. There's feast and famine and anything. You realize like, oh, there's actually a lot of it around, and it's normal for it to fluctuate like that. And there's opportunity that I'm not stuck in this situation forever. But I think when you're really hurting financially, it feels like forever. It feels
Yeah.
like you are never going to get out of this situation. But if you look at it as my situation is temporary, it kind of loses its power over your life. And you're like, oh, if this is temporary, what can I do then now to course correct? If you're overspending and you're spending money that you don't have on things you don't need, it's a simple solution. Stop. And it might take 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. It might take a year to correct a situation. It's okay. This is temporary. This is temporary. Everybody goes through highs and lows with their money. What makes someone wealthy, like what makes someone get to that point where they're financially free, versus you, is they're just getting better over time and not giving up. But
Absolutely.
no one, I always say too, no one's born financially literate.
Yeah.
There's no secret sauce. I used to believe that there must be secret rooms with people that like talk about money and learn something that I just never had. That's wealth is for the lucky few. That's not for me. Those are all the poverty mind. Those are all limited beliefs around money. And so that's where we go back to, where did that come from? And what was your experience? What makes you think that there's only so much to go around, that it's such a scarce resource? Was it a money event that you had? So that's where we go back to our relationship with it. And then we need to rewrite that story. And then we need to be open to receiving and enjoying our money. Money is meant to be enjoyed. If you're sitting here budgeting every penny to just pay your bills, then what are you going to do? You're going to resent your situation. You're going to resent your life because it's not bringing you any joy. And if people say that money doesn't buy you happiness, they're probably broke, because money, we said it at the beginning, money buys you opportunity. Money buys you better access to health, better food. Yes, money can absolutely improve your life. I don't think it's the tool that like brings it doesn't have the ability to make you happy. I think you need to like find happiness in yourself, but it's absolutely a tool that can tremendously impact your lives and the lives of others.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to share some things that we should be focusing on if we're wanting to build wealth. We'll be right back. Ready to turn your influence into income? Take the Influence Growth Assessment. In just minutes, you'll uncover the next steps to grow your visibility, attract bigger opportunities, and boost your profitability. Visit myinfluencestyle.com to take the assessment today. A new era of success is waiting. Let's make it yours. All right, welcome back. So we have Janine Mix here, and we are talking about money and how women can have more of it. And you said, I read in your bio actually, that you believe that wealth in the hands of women can change the world. And so thank you so much for talking about the first, right before the break, we were talking about all the different ways that can kind of get in the way, some of the unhealthy behaviors and mindsets. So now I want to shift before we wrap up to what are some things that we can get right. So there's all types of ways that women can build wealth. And so if there was just one money move that you wanted women to focus on for 2025, what would that one money move be?
Invest your money. I know a lot of very successful business owners that pay a lot in taxes and don't have a lot to show for investment. And I think investing money seems scary and risky. And I say that more money in the hands of women will change the world, because I believe that women are wired for contribution
Yeah.
when it comes to finances. If you ask a woman, what would you do with $1 million? She's likely going to be like, I'm going to pay off my mom's house. And then, like she's going to do some stuff for herself too and her family, but she's more likely to donate her money even when she doesn't have it. Like I do see that so much in the female space. And I say that women, men are wired for competition. And I don't say that in a bad way. And it doesn't mean that they aren't wired for contribution as well. But statistically shown, if you have a husband and a wife and they have money, he's more likely to give more away because of her. And I
Mm,
think it's like, that's where I think there's beauty in working together with your spouse. I have a whole chapter on marriage and money in my book. I'm pro work together with your spouse, with your finances. But so if men are kind of wired for competition, they want to, provide provision for their family as number one. Other people is like not number one. Where women are like, no, but we have to think of others. We have to, what about them? Like we just naturally do that. And so if you want to contribute and if you want to make an impact in this world, one of many ways that you can do it, but one significant way that you could do it is with your money. And I believe that we need to not just steward it and manage it well in our own household, in our own businesses, and in saving, but in multiplying the money. There's stewardship requires a multiplication. Um, I am a Christian, and there's the parable of the three talents where it's like, okay, they're actually given a certain amount of talents, which is gold or money. They're given a certain amount based on what they were believed they could manage, but two of them invested, one of them saved and hid it and was like, yay, I saved and hid it. But that one was actually like cursed. And you're like, why? Because you would think like, well, I protected that money. Yeah, but you didn't multiply it. Stewardship requires an act of multiplying that money, whether that's through your business or whether it's through investing. I really think that's one of the areas that I see, especially entrepreneurs. You're building all this money in your business and you're putting it right back in your business. What are you doing for your future? Because if you sell your business or leave your business in 5 to 10 years, what do you have to show for it? At the end of the day, if you can't say anything, it's because you didn't take the profits from your business and put it into investments for your future. And I think that that's really important. I like the saying of like, I like to help 6-figure earners build 7-figure wealth. You do that through your active income. You want active and passive income. If you can try to get both of those things working for you, you will never have to worry about money again. And I
right.
really believe that it's for women, especially, it's the piece that's missing is investing, whether it's setting up something as simple as an investment fund, a stock fund, or investing in real estate, which is where I found my vehicle for financial freedom. There's so many ways to do that too. I think the limited belief that women have is like, when it comes to real estate, it's I don't want to deal with toilets and tenants and all these things. There are so many ways that you can invest just your cash and be completely passive investor. I just am noticing there's not lot of women in those rooms. There's not a lot of women in those conversations. And I have a whole chapter on that on my book. I'm not a radical feminist, but the financial institutions were not built with women in mind. We weren't
Correct.
in the rooms and they weren't built. And I say in the book, like, we're just getting started in this game. Like, we're the first generation of women to be able to buy a house and have a credit card without a male. Like, that's crazy. So we're just getting started. It's not that we're like, we have all these limits on us. It's we're just getting started, and we feel statistically we are better investors, and yet we believe men are better investors. Again, why is that? It took me a very long time. I have millions of dollars worth of real estate. It took me a very long time for myself to call me an investor. Why? That's so weird. I'd say my husband's the investor. That's so weird because we own the company together and we built it together. So I really think if there's one money move that you could make, it would be to start investing. And it's so simple and it's so easy. You can go to, if you want to invest in the stock market, create a Vanguard account. I think you can do it with at least, with a minimum of like $500, which I don't like going to men in suits to control my money. You can do it online and you can have that control. You can go to Betterment, you can go to Vanguard, start a stock account, or start taking some of your income that you're making from your business or from your job, start saving some and start investing in real estate. There's so many benefits to investing in real estate, not just cash flow, but wealth building, tax deductible strategies. And there's a reason why most wealthy people either have one, two, or both of these things. And that's how did they build their wealth? Business and real estate. There's something to that. Let's get in the game more.
Absolutely. There you've heard it. So, everyone, I want to make sure that you are taking things further with this because obviously, within the confines of an interview, there's only so much that she can share with you. So, Janine, if
Mhm.
people want to continue to follow you, which social media platform do you recommend they find you on?
Come hang out with me on Instagram at Janine Mix. It's where I love to connect with people. I share all sorts of insights on wealth building, money tips, things from budgeting to investing. I just did an entire story on, what I think is changing in the real estate market. So come and hang out with me on social media there. And then I have a resource for your listeners too. You can go to janinemix.com/influence economy. And if you go there, you're going to get a couple freebies. You can get my book, but you can also get my 5-step money planner. Maybe you're someone who's like, okay, investing is so far off. I don't even know if I like my job. Okay. Well, the thing is like we have to, what I would have said is your number two money move would be you need to know where you want to go and where you are. If you don't know where you are financially and you're just like, I hope there's money in my account, and you don't know where you want to go, that the vision is so clear that it stops you from making bad money moves, like because you know where you want to go, that it doesn't make sense to you for you to buy something that you don't need, then you need to have a plan. And I have a 5-step money planner. It's so easy. It's a one-stop shop that you could see all of your accounts. Also, you need to know where your money is, where your husband's money is, where's your husband's 401k. Like, I don't know. It's crazy how much I see in real estate. I buy a lot of houses from foreclosure or death, from probate. And it's crazy to see how someone can work their whole life to build quote unquote generational wealth, and it could be gone like that because they don't have a plan and they didn't let someone know where their money was. And I just put an offer on a property that just was being built, and I just learned that it was two elderly women that owned this property together. One passed away and one had dementia. Do you think that they got a good deal? You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not saying that someone took advantage of them. I'm just saying that they probably didn't have something in place. And so you need to know where your money is. You need to have a plan. And that 5-step money planner will make it so easy for you to just like start feeling confident with your money. And so you can get some of those resources if you go to janinemix.com/influence economy.
Perfect. And I'm going to make sure that the links to both the social media and her freebies are in the show notes so that all you have to do is click it. So, everyone, share this episode with every woman that you know, because the more we have, the more people we can help and the more impact and influence that we can have as well. So, I hope that this information has been good to you, like it's been good to me, and that you will go back and listen to previous and future episodes as well. Everyone, have a great day. Bye bye.